morning everyone, and welcome to this week's garden update, where I have a few ideas to share with you. One being how to make the flowers that you pick from your garden last longer in a vase inside your house. Second one is how to easily swap over smaller raised garden beds. The idea may be quite obvious and straightforward to a lot of you, but when I was a new gardener, it was something that I didn't necessarily think about when it came to raised beds. And last of all, but not least, well actually there's quite a few other things going on, but the other little highlight, I guess you would say, is that I'm going to show you 3 simple ideas to repurpose old sheets and towels in your garden. So please just sit back, relax for a few minutes, and I'll show you around now. I picked these autumn flowers today, the Cosmos and the Anthony Parker Salvia, 2 plants that put on a big show in my autumn garden. I share this little tip on my TikTok account, so when you're bringing little garden posies like this into your house, it's always a good idea to remove the foliage from the bottom of the stems, because you don't want any leaves sitting in the water causing contamination. If you do this little step, your flower arrangements should last a lot longer indoors. I've read a lot that it's not a very good idea to put plants under a tree like I have done here. And that's because the roots of a tree can act like a little bit of a bully, taking any water that becomes available down here. And that means that these plants don't get the required water that they need. However, I really haven't found this to be the case with these plants. And same under the orange tree where I have lots of nasturtiums. They seem pretty happy. If anything, I think they work together in harmony. The plants down here act like a living mulch, protecting the tree's roots from the heat of the summer and preventing evaporation. And in turn, during autumn, these fallen petals will make their way in amongst the foliage, slowly breaking down over the next few weeks and feeding these plants, which are mostly spring flowering perennials like this bearded iris, and over here I have some columbine. Here's some more of the Cosmos, which volunteered, popping up in springtime and putting on a mass display of flowers now. Cosmos is definitely one of those annuals that really benefits from being deadheaded, which is removing all of these old spent blooms. That will really encourage more and more flowers. I don't have time for this process this year, so I'm just going to enjoy the display while it lasts. Some of you who are very observant might notice that all along the back fence, the passion fruit suckers are back again, running all the way across here. So this is going to be a really big job for me to do this winter, getting in there and digging out these roots. I've just come around to the back garden again, and you can see there's a lot of Cosmos here too. I really enjoyed growing different varieties of corn this year. The glass gem, strawberry and mini blue popcorn. Wait until you see what I did with this one. A lady called Sharon on Instagram taught me how to do this, popping the corn while still on the cob. So this is what you do. It's very simple but lots of fun. You get your dried out mini blue corn, and then you spray it. I used canola oil, just giving it a light spray. Also, must say I removed these parts here too, so it's just actually the cob itself, like this here. So the next thing you want to do is put it into a microwave safe container. So that's what I did with this one, placing the lid loosely on top. I don't seal it up, and then pop it in the microwave for 60 seconds, always keeping an eye on it. And this is the result. So much fun. So you've got some of the popcorn still attached like on the other one, and then you can see there that there's a few of them missing, and they actually just popped right off into the container. This is definitely something you could do with kids, a bit of fun, and get them really excited about growing their own food. So over the next few weeks I will do the same with the glass gem corn and the strawberry popcorn, and I might actually just go through the whole process with you step by step so you can see how it's done. But as I said before, it's pretty basic. I've just got one more point to make, and that is that not all corn varieties can be popped like these three that I showed you here. Here in the raised garden bed area, there are the girls. Hey Snowflake! She still won't let me pick her up, even though the other three don't seem to mind a cuddle. Snowflake is very jumpy. Oh, the other two are there as well. So in here, I was saying, I managed to change over another, I think about 6 beds. I still have the 2 down at the very back to replace, but I'm on track now to getting all of these replaced, and soon I will be planting them all up and trying to keep these girls out of them. Just in case you're new to my channel, these were the old beds in this area. It was time to take them out. They were getting very old, quite rusty and pretty much falling apart, and replace them with these ones here. Even though they are made by a different company, they are the exact same measurements. It's just mostly the colour that's different. There's only these 2 down the back to go, and you might notice that they still have plants in them. Like here I've got Rob's nasturtiums, I've got a mullein, and in the other bed across the way have some comfrey. Being a solo gardener, I always try and think of ways to make jobs out here as easy as possible. So for example, here with these raised beds, when I do replace them, all I simply do is remove this and then slip the new one over on top. I don't bother digging up these plants. And you might think, well, how do I get the new one in? I am pretty much very rough and ready with these plants. I just grab it, chuck them over like that. Doesn't matter if I damage a few leaves. You know what? I'll actually quickly show you now how to swap them over. I have a nice outline of this bed with the soil in place. Next thing I do is I just pull these up. Sometimes they're a bit stuck in there, so I grab my shovel and remove some of the dirt or soil from the edges just to loosen it up. And then I just pull the whole thing off like this. I'll leave that there for the moment. See, it's pretty much completely rusted through. But now this bed is ready to put the new frame around it. And most of the soil has stayed in the same shape. Here's the new one, and I just wriggle it over, pushing it down. Sometimes some of the soil just fall out the sides, and I just get my shovel and put it back in. It's as easy as that. Job done. All I have to do now is come in here, fill it up with a bit more compost and manure, and it's ready to plant out. It has been so long since I gave you an update on the spaghetti squash. There's only 2 left on the plant, so I have this one here, which is the larger one, and then this little baby. At this stage, I should be at the point where I'm harvesting them, but I'm afraid this isn't the case. It appears that I've only got 2 left on the plant. The larger one I just showed you, and this very immature one here. I'm back over at the larger one. The actual plant itself is starting to die back. You can see there's a lot of leaves looking like this. I don't have much hope for these, unfortunately. I did have a few on the plant earlier on in the season, but as you may remember, I was having awful trouble with rats coming and eating a lot of the edibles in the garden, and that included the spaghetti squash. Time is really against these now, and being realistic, unfortunately, I am not going to get any decent ones to harvest for this year. I'm over here at the carrot bed. So last week I said that each week I'm going to share with you one eco-friendly idea in celebration of Earth Day, which is coming up quite soon. So this week's tip is how to repurpose old sheets and towels out in the garden. Here are 3 ideas. The first one is to wet your sheet or towel and use it to cover the garden bed where you have freshly sown carrot seeds, because carrots need a lot of moisture to germinate, and this damp sheet will keep the soil underneath nice and wet. The second use for them is with your worm farm. During really hot summer days, grab yourself an old towel, again, get it nice and wet, and then what you want to do is place it over the top of the farm, and in between you can put some bottles of frozen water. This is just a demonstration, there's nothing in here. Wrapping that up in amongst the towel, and it will help keep the worms in your farm nice and cool during those really scorching days. And the last idea for old sheets and towels is to use it to protect your plants, whether that be during winter time when you know there's a really cold night coming up, or during a heat wave when you want to protect some of your plants from the high temperatures during the day. Thanks so much for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed those few ideas that I shared with you, especially the corn. I was just blown away with that. It's so much fun to make. Well, I'm going to head off, put this video together, and I'm planning on over the next couple of days heading down to my local garden centre. I know they've just received a fresh delivery of seedlings and I want to grab some of them to put into the garden. Anyway, take care everyone, and I'll see you again next Friday.